the migrant crisis. Now, first of all, over the weekend, there was this extraordinary announcement that what Keir Starmer is now doing, if you like, infusing our entire nation with migrants and asylum seekers. So in the past, various communities would complain with some justification, our local hotel has just been entirely taken over by migrant seekers, by asylum seekers. Then people started to say, well, there's these other accommodation centres. They've now moved into my street. Well, now they've moved next door. So literally, asylum seekers are going to be given houses to rent all over the country. No doubt we will pay the rent. So far from cutting back, Starmer said, I'll cut back on hotels, I'll cut back on accommodation centres. There'll be much less need for accommodation as we solve the migrant crisis. Hotels, he's commandeering more and more. Accommodation centres, he's trying to set more and more up. And now he's renting houses all over the country. This is out of control, isn't it?
Well, the only thing we should be cutting back on is the actual number of illegal immigrants who are coming to the country. Never mind cutting back on this accommodation or that accommodation. If you keep allowing them to pour across the channel, and it's not even exaggerating to say that. I mean, we are now entering the summer months, heat wave, better conditions for making those crossings. We are going to have days where close to 1,000 come in a single day. Perhaps we'll even break through that barrier, as I think we have in the past in the summer. So, you know, just continuing to cater for more people is not an answer to the problem. And this is going to cause such resentment in more communities. I mean, I've looked at the list of places up and down the country where the contractors who are being paid vast fortunes to secure private accommodation for these asylum seekers are looking. And you know, it's just in so many parts of the UK, and many of them look to me pretty unsuitable areas. You know, you've got places like Rutland. It's not an obvious place to send a bunch of illegal immigrants. Yeah. I don't know when this government is going to wake up and realise the only place to send them is either back where they came from or into a supermax detention centre. And
I tell you what's interesting is, I mean, hardly anywhere is now escaping this ongoing invasion of illegal foreigners, which that's basically what they are, these asylum seekers. Yeah. We're going to do a story later in the show, actually. Won't bother you with it. But there are 1,096 asylum seekers in this country whose applications were first filed more than 10 years ago. They've been here for over
I am really bothered. I am bothered. You know, I
said I'm not going to bother you with it because we're going to do it. But you see, I mean, 1,096, more than 1,000 asylum seekers first applied to stay in this country more than 10 years ago, and their applications continue. What we've got to do, what is a clear and present ridiculous situation is, if I'm a migrant, I'm an asylum seeker, I come here, I apply to be granted asylum, to be allowed to stay. You know, it goes to court, I fail. So you think, well, all right, well, I'll be out of the country now. No. I just appeal and I stay. That appeal is heard. I fail. Well, now surely I'll be kicked out of the country. No. I'll just appeal again, and I'll keep on appealing until they allow me to stay. That is what's happening. There is no limit on the amount of times these people can appeal. So it's literally pointless refusing them their applications, because they'll just appeal again. It's a complete mess. And in the past, shall we say, a lovely millionaires town like Datchet near Windsor, very, very plush, very wealthy kind of area, that would have escaped the scourge of asylum seekers, principally because that used to be David Cameron's constituency, didn't it? Well, now that Datchet has got as much problems as anywhere else. There's a lovely hotel in the middle of it. They've filled it with migrants. People trying to sell their £5 million properties just can't get rid of them anymore. So it's not just areas that you might imagine would be affected by asylum seekers, shall we say, the more run-down areas, cities, and so on and so forth. It's very nice areas as well, areas full of multi-million pounds homes. So the entire country is getting infused with asylum seekers. The entire nation is now changing because of this problem that the damn Prime Minister is doing absolutely nothing about. The fact that he's doing nothing is an absolute disgrace.
It's a complete disaster. I've just been racking my brains as to who was the MP for Datchet that you're thinking of for that area, because it certainly wasn't Cameron.
No, he lived there, didn't he? Didn't he have a house there?
Cameron was the MP for Whitney.
Okay.
I know that because I'm also in that constituency. And actually, Whitney has got its fair share. It definitely has at least one migrant hotel. And Whitney is a classic kind of lovely edge of the Cotswolds market town. This is everywhere now, and if it's not near you already, then it's coming near you very soon, and it's changing the face of our country. And picking up on what you said about these endless appeals, that's really simple. I think you just introduce a rule whereby either it's a first strike and you're out. You failed your claim and you're deported within, let's say, a week, or you're allowed one appeal. I mean, I know I'd probably opt for the no appeal thing, but in a nod to the bleeding hearts of the nation, we could perhaps allow one appeal, and then that's it. You're out. You just cannot have a system where people are allowed to appeal again and again and again and again. Guess who's paying for all those appeals? It's not the asylum seekers or the failed illegal immigrants.
And what about Starmer today? I mean, we have to tread fairly carefully here, but many experts, political commentators are predicting that Reform UK could have a very good day at the local elections on Thursday. And you get the feeling with this announcement that Starmer suddenly made today, something about a crackdown on migration. Oh, another one, Keir, thank you very much. And some old claptrap about closing the loophole for graduate student visas and so on and so forth. I mean, quite clearly a desperate bid to say, oh, vote Labour because, we'll certainly solve this migrant crisis. But that announcement just proves how desperate he is and how he's got no idea how to solve it. I mean, this smash the gangs strategy is now, as I said in my monologue, it is a sick national joke. I mean, they're not smashing any gangs. They haven't caught anyone. It's pathetic. Stop the migrants, Keir. Otherwise, you will never solve this problem.
It'll be so interesting to see how things play out at the end of the week. As you say, there are elections coming up. We don't need to get into the party politics of it. Suffice to say that this announcement today, this crackdown, it's a non-announcement, really. I mean, it's tinkering around the edges in a way that no one's going to notice, is obviously a kind of cry for help from Downing Street.
Cry for help. Exactly.
A cry for help from, please, someone vote for us, because really, we're just going to try and convince you that we're on top of this problem. I mean, come on. Who's going to fall for that? I don't think so. I really don't. It's desperate stuff. If they'd stood up there and said something really radical, like my fine policy of building a supermax jail for illegal immigrants, then I'd have listened. And then I think the nation might have been like, oh, wow, you're actually building you're doing something tangible about this. But just standing there going, yeah, we're going to crack down, I'm going to change some some student visa stuff. Come on. Exactly
right. And by the way, no one will have failed to notice that the weather is pretty clement today, to say the least. And the forecast is for a very hot, calm week down on the English Channel near Dover and Folkestone and around there. So I think we can predict that there may be quite a number of migrants coming over on small boats this week. We're standing now at around about 8,300 so far this year, and that number is expected to pass the 10,000 mark possibly this week. That is 40% higher in terms of arrivals, illegal arrivals, 40% above previous records, 40% higher than ever before. I mean, this is, we talk about the migrant crisis. With these kind of numbers, we're going to find out exactly what a crisis means, because this is unsustainable.
It is a complete and utter disaster. It's a disaster for the Labour Party. I don't much care about that. But more importantly, it's a disaster for our country. Every single one of those people, yes, they're humans, and yes, they may have come from trouble spots. I'm sure that the vast majority have come from countries that aren't nearly as nice as Britain, but they each come with a massive price tag for the British taxpayer. You might just as well hang, I'm making this figure up, but, £1 million attached to each one, because over the course of a number of years, without a doubt, they will cost £1 million each on average, because they are not going to be net contributors for a very, very long time. So look, this is the impact on communities, the impact on public services, the impact on the NHS, on and on and on it goes. And in particular, of course, on housing. And it's a disaster. It just is.
Yeah, and you wait. Once they start sort of forcing migrants into people's next door neighbours, people start realising their next door neighbours are Syrians who can't speak English, etc., etc. Nothing against them, but that is going to cause social problems. It really, really is. And Starmer has completely lost his grip here, and it's extremely worrying. When we come back, Isabel, we're going to talk about a guy called Rick Pryor. He's the Met Police's union chief, who gave an interview to Alex Phillips here on Talk, and he said that London cops are reluctant to challenge ethnic suspects in case they end up in a racism complaint, a complaint that those kind of complaints are often backed up by the Police Complaints Commission. Therefore, coppers are worried about confronting people of ethnic origin because they think it might cost them their careers. This is what he said. We'll play that later. But he's been sacked for saying that. And what I'd like to talk to you about is worrying syndrome in Starmer's Britain. It is this staring down the truth and saying it's not true. Rick Pryor, I think if you ask any copper in Britain, will tell you he's speaking the truth, and yet he's been fired for that. And it's just like Keir Starmer with two-tier justice. Keir, what are we going to do about two-tier justice? Oh, it doesn't exist. I mean, you can't just deny the truth. It's a problem here. And Rick Pryor, who seems like he's a career officer, he has suffered because of this.